What if I told you that some of the most important creatures on Earth are disappearing right now without most people even noticing? Imagine a world where animals you only see in documentaries no longer exist at all. No lions in the wild, no tigers in forests, no elephants roaming freely across plains. Not because nature changed overnight, but because we allowed it to happen slowly. Right now, thousands of species are standing on the edge of extinction, and most of them are losing that battle silently. No headlines every day, no loud alarms in daily life, just gradual disappearance. But here is the question that should shake us. What happens when a species is gone forever? Can it be replaced? Can it be recreated? Or is it lost permanently in time? The truth is simple and terrifying. Extinction is irreversible. Once a species disappears, it is gone forever. No technology can fully bring it back as it was. Now imagine ecosystems without balance. Forests without pollinators, oceans without top predators, rivers without key fish species. Everything starts collapsing in ways we don't immediately see, because every species plays a role. Even the smallest insect has a purpose. Even the most overlooked animal supports a chain of life. Remove one link and the chain weakens. Remove many and it breaks completely. Yet humans often think nature is infinite. That wildlife will always recover on its own. That belief is dangerous because recovery is not always possible anymore. Habitat loss is happening faster than regeneration. Climate change is shifting survival conditions. Illegal hunting is pushing species closer to extinction. Pollution is destroying entire ecosystems silently, and time is not waiting for correction. In the middle of all this, animals are adapting or dying. Some succeed temporarily. Many fail permanently, and once numbers drop too low, recovery becomes impossible. But here is what makes this even more urgent. Most people will never see an endangered species in real life, so they feel disconnected from the problem. And what we don't see, we often don't prioritize. Yet losing these species affects more than wildlife alone. It affects food chains, it affects climate stability, it affects agriculture, it affects human survival in ways people rarely connect. Because nature is not separate from us. It is the system we live inside. And every broken part affects the whole structure. So the real question becomes unavoidable. Are we willing to let entire species vanish while we stay silent? Or will we recognize the warning signs in time? This is not just about animals. It is about balance. It is about responsibility. It is about the future we are shaping right now. Because extinction is not a future concept anymore. It is happening in the present moment. And the world we leave behind depends on what we do next. To understand why endangered species matter, we first need to understand what is actually happening behind the scenes. Extinction does not happen suddenly in most cases. It happens step by step, population by population. A few animals disappear from one region, then a few more from another, until the species becomes rare enough to notice. At that point, it is already dangerously close to extinction, because small populations struggle to survive. They struggle to find mates, they struggle to maintain genetic diversity, and they struggle against changing environments. One of the biggest threats is habitat destruction. Forests are cut down for agriculture, wetlands are drained for construction, grasslands are converted into cities, and animals lose their natural homes. Without habitat, survival becomes impossible. Because every species depends on a specific environment, even slight changes can cause collapse. A forest animal cannot simply adapt to urban life, and an ocean species cannot survive in polluted water. Another major threat is illegal hunting. Some animals are hunted for their skin, some for their horns, some for traditional medicine markets, and some simply for sport. This creates a rapid decline in already vulnerable populations, especially for large mammals that reproduce slowly. Because when numbers drop too low, recovery becomes extremely difficult. In some cases, impossible without human intervention. Climate change adds another layer of pressure. Temperatures are rising across the planet. Ice habitats are melting. Weather patterns are becoming unpredictable. And migration routes are being disrupted. Animals that once survived easily now face constant stress. Some move to new areas, but not all can adapt. And those that cannot adapt slowly disappear. Pollution is also silently killing ecosystems. Plastic waste in oceans harms marine life. Chemicals in water affect reproduction cycles. Air pollution weakens entire food chains. And the damage often goes unnoticed until it is severe. Another hidden factor is human expansion. Cities grow larger every year. Roads cut through forests. Railways divide habitats into smaller fragments, and isolated populations become weaker over time. Because isolation reduces genetic strength, it increases disease vulnerability, and it lowers survival chances significantly. Even natural disasters can worsen the situation. Wildfires destroy entire ecosystems in days. Floods wipe out nesting grounds, and droughts remove essential water sources. All these threats combined create a dangerous reality, multiple pressures acting at the same time, leaving little room for recovery, and pushing many species toward extinction faster than ever before. What makes this crisis more serious is its invisibility, because it does not always look urgent on the surface, but underneath, irreversible damage is happening. And by the time we fully notice, it may already be too late. That is why awareness is not enough on its own. Action must follow understanding. To understand the importance of protecting endangered species, we must first understand biodiversity itself. Biodiversity means the variety of all life on Earth. It includes animals, plants, insects, and microorganisms, and it includes the ecosystems they form together. Every part of biodiversity has a role in maintaining balance. When one species disappears, the system begins to shift. Sometimes subtly at first, sometimes dramatically over time, but always with consequences. For example, predators control populations of other animals. Without predators, certain species grow uncontrollably. This can damage vegetation and disrupt ecosystems. On the other hand, herbivores control plant growth patterns, and pollinators help plants reproduce. Each role is connected like pieces of a puzzle. Remove one piece and the picture becomes incomplete. Remove many, and the system collapses. Forest ecosystems rely heavily on this balance. Trees depend on animals for seed dispersal, birds and insects help with pollination, and decomposers recycle nutrients back into the soil. Without these processes, forests cannot sustain themselves. And without forests, many other species also disappear. Ocean ecosystems are equally delicate. Coral reefs support thousands of marine species. Fish populations depend on reef structures for survival, and even small organisms play vital roles in food chains. When ocean temperatures rise, coral bleaching occurs, and entire ecosystems begin to break down. This shows how sensitive biodiversity really is. Even minor changes can have massive consequences. Another important factor is ecosystem services. These are benefits humans receive from nature. Clean air is one of them. Fresh water is another. Fertile soil is also part of this system. Bees alone contribute to a large portion of global food production. Without them, agriculture would suffer significantly. This would affect food supply worldwide. Forests also regulate climate. They absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and help stabilize global temperatures. Wetlands filter water naturally. Rivers provide drinking water sources. And grasslands support livestock and wildlife. All of these systems depend on living species. Not just large or visible animals, but also small and often overlooked organisms. Biodiversity also increases ecosystem resilience. A diverse system can recover more easily from damage because multiple species can fulfill similar roles. But when biodiversity decreases, resilience weakens, and ecosystems become fragile. One disturbance can cause widespread collapse. This is why extinction is not an isolated problem. It is a global stability issue. Every species removed from the system creates imbalance, and that imbalance eventually affects human life as well. Food security, climate stability, and clean water all depend on biodiversity, which means protecting species is not optional. It is essential for survival. The more we understand these connections, the clearer the responsibility becomes. We are not separate from nature. We are part of it, and its survival is directly tied to our own. If humans are a major cause of species decline, then humans must also be part of the solution. This responsibility cannot be avoided anymore, because every action we take has an impact on the natural world, sometimes direct, sometimes indirect, but always significant. The first step toward protecting endangered species is awareness. People need to understand what is at risk, not just in general terms, but in real emotional terms, because awareness creates concern, and concern leads to action. Governments also play a critical role. Laws against illegal hunting must be enforced strictly, protected areas must be expanded, and wildlife reserves must be properly funded. Without enforcement, policies remain ineffective. Habitat protection is one of the most important strategies. Forests must be preserved instead of cleared. Wetlands must be restored instead of drained, and natural ecosystems must be respected during development. Sustainable development is key. It means meeting human needs without destroying nature. Cities can grow while still protecting green spaces. Industries can operate while reducing pollution. And agriculture can expand without harming biodiversity. Education is another powerful tool. When people learn about endangered species early, they develop empathy, and empathy shapes future decisions. Schools can teach conservation as a core subject because future generations will inherit this planet. Conservation organizations also play a major role. They rescue animals in danger, they restore damaged habitats, and they work to reintroduce species into the wild. Technology can also help conservation efforts. Satellite tracking monitors animal movement, drones help study remote ecosystems, and data analysis predicts population trends. But technology alone is not enough. Human behavior must also change. Daily choices matter more than people realize. Reducing plastic use can protect marine life. Supporting sustainable products reduces environmental damage. And conserving energy helps fight climate change. Even small actions contribute to larger impact, because collective behavior shapes global outcomes. If millions of people make small changes, the effect becomes powerful. International cooperation is also essential. Wildlife does not recognize borders, so countries must work together to protect ecosystems. Agreements and treaties help coordinate global efforts. Funding conservation projects is another necessity. Many species are saved only because of financial support. Without funding, protection efforts cannot continue. But beyond systems and policies, there is something deeper. A shift in mindset, seeing nature not as a resource to exploit, but as a living system to respect. When this mindset changes, behavior naturally follows. People begin to value balance over short-term gain, and long-term survival becomes the priority. The solution is not one single action. It is a combination of awareness, responsibility, and commitment, and it must begin before more species are lost forever. In the end, protecting endangered species is not just an environmental issue. It is a reflection of how we value life itself. Every extinct species is a story that cannot continue, a chapter permanently erased from Earth's history. And once it is gone, no human effort can fully restore it. This is why the urgency cannot be ignored. Because extinction is not waiting for perfect solutions. It is happening right now, step by step. Future generations will judge the choices made today, not only by what we built, but also by what we allowed to disappear. Imagine a child growing up in a world without elephants, or without wild tigers, or without coral reefs full of life. To them, these creatures would be only images in books. That loss is not just ecological, it is emotional and cultural as well, because humans are deeply connected to nature, even when they do not realize it. Every species carries uniqueness that cannot be replaced. Their behaviors, roles, and existence are irreplaceable. Nature does not create duplicates. It creates diversity. And diversity is what keeps life stable and evolving. Without it, systems become fragile and predictable, and fragile systems eventually collapse. This is why conservation is not optional. It is necessary for long-term survival. The choices we make today determine the stability of tomorrow. Even simple decisions matter more than they seem. Choosing sustainable products supports ecosystems. Protecting forests protects entire food chains. Reducing pollution protects oceans and air quality. And respecting wildlife protects balance in nature. These actions may seem small individually, but together they form powerful change. Change begins when people stop seeing nature as separate from themselves, because humanity is part of the same system, not outside it, not above it, but inside it. When one part of the system suffers, everything feels the effect, even if it is not immediately visible. This is the silent truth behind extinction. It does not only remove animals, it weakens the foundation of life itself. But there is still hope. Because many species can still be saved. Recovery is possible when action is taken early. Conservation success stories already exist. Species once near extinction have recovered through effort. This proves that change is possible, but only if action continues consistently. Not temporarily, not occasionally, but continuously. The future of endangered species depends on awareness turning into responsibility, and responsibility turning into action. It depends on people choosing to care, even when it is inconvenient, even when it is not visible in daily life. Because silence leads to disappearance, and attention leads to protection. The difference between the two is human choice. So the question is simple, but powerful. Will we be the generation that protected life, or the one that watched it disappear?